Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about a simple yet powerful truth: do tithes every night before you sleep, and wake up rich. Now, when I say rich, I'm not speaking only of gold or silver, though those too may come, but rich in ideas, rich in peace, rich in health, rich in the divine supply that God has already prepared for you. For the kingdom of God is within you, and what you plant in your heart before the night closes its curtain, you will surely harvest when the dawn breaks. Tonight's message is about sowing those seeds, in thought, in faith, and in the certainty that God's law of prosperity never fails. The mind's last thought before sleep holds a mysterious and undeniable power over the hours that follow. Most people drift into sleep without considering what seeds they are planting in the garden of their subconscious mind, yet it is in those quiet, unguarded moments that the soil is most fertile. Florence Scovel Shinn often taught that the subconscious mind is the great servant of the spirit. It does not argue, it does not question, it simply receives and reproduces what is impressed upon it. Whatever thought you carry into the night, whether born of faith or fear, will take root and grow while you rest. The truth is that your last conscious impression acts as a blueprint for the coming day. When the body is asleep, the conscious mind, with all its logic and reasoning, steps aside, and the subconscious steps forward to work tirelessly in the background, arranging circumstances, drawing people, and opening doors that match the instructions you gave it. Imagine for a moment a farmer who plants seeds just before the rains come. He does not worry through the night. He knows that nature will do its part. In the same way, the moment before sleep is like that planting. If you scatter seeds of worry, doubt, or resentment, those are the crops you will see sprouting in the field of your life. If, however, you sow seeds of faith, gratitude, and abundance, you awaken to find that life has arranged itself in harmony with your desires. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. It accepts both as fact and works to bring them into physical expression. This is why it is so vital to choose the last thought of the night with intention. Consider how the mind works throughout the day. It is constantly bombarded with impressions, conversations, news, and worries. These thoughts pass in and out quickly, but the thought you deliberately focus on before drifting into sleep is the one that sinks deeply into the fertile ground of your inner being. That thought becomes the instruction for the unseen forces of life to follow. Many people, without realizing it, go to bed rehearsing their troubles. They review arguments, worry about bills, or dwell on what went wrong. This is like giving the subconscious a set of blueprints for a house you do not want to live in. Yet it will still build it for you because it follows your last command faithfully. Florence Scovel Shinn likened the mind to a motion picture screen. The subconscious is the hidden projector, and the images impressed upon it are what appear in the film of your life. When you fall asleep, you hand the reel to that projector, and it will play all through the night. If the reel contains fear, fear will find a way to show itself in your waking hours. If the reel contains peace and success, those will find their way into your experience. The principle is simple yet profound. Sign: the last thought at night sets the tone and trajectory for the day to come. It is not only spiritual teachers who have affirmed this truth. Scientists studying the brain have found that the final moments before sleep are a time when the mind shifts into a receptive state, often referred to as the theta brainwave state. In this state, the conscious guard is lowered, and impressions pass directly into the subconscious. In other words, you have a brief window where you can bypass the doubts, fears, and reasoning of the conscious mind and speak directly to the creative power within. Whatever you speak, feel, and imagine during that window is more likely to be accepted as truth and acted upon without resistance. This is why people who practice deliberate bedtime affirmations or visualization often experience faster changes in their outer circumstances. By impressing the subconscious with images and feelings of the desired outcome, they create a mental and spiritual pattern that life will then match. Florence Scovel Shinn would say that you are putting the divine law into operation, for every idea has a corresponding form. When the idea is planted in the subconscious, it will, by the law of growth, bring forth after its kind. If you plant the thought, I am guided and prospered in all my ways, you are setting in motion guidance and prosperity to manifest. If you plant, everything always works out for me, your subconscious will take that as an instruction to find and create ways for everything to work out. Your last thought at night can also be seen as a prayer. Prayer is not always words whispered to heaven, it is the feeling and conviction you carry in your heart as you speak those words. If your final thought is laced with anxiety, that is the prayer you are sending into the silence. If it is filled with trust and expectancy of good, that is the prayer the universe will answer. The subconscious mind works with perfect obedience to your inner state. It is like a servant that takes your order without question, then spends the entire night preparing exactly what you requested. Many awaken each morning wondering why their lives feel heavy or stagnant, not realizing they have been ordering more of the same every night before bed. Florence Scovel Shinn urged her students to take control of this precious moment, to guard it as one would guard a treasure chest. She often reminded them that the game of life is a game of boomerangs. What you send out, you receive back, multiplied. The thought you send into the subconscious before sleep is a boomerang with great power, because it is sent into a realm where there is no distraction, no competition, and no interference. It is received in stillness and returned in form. By choosing that thought with care, you are, in essence, writing tomorrow's script in advance. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in the spiritual and mental realm. Yet it is often overlooked or practiced half-heartedly. Florence Scovel Shinn often taught that to be truly grateful is to acknowledge that God's blessings are already yours, even before they appear in visible form. Gratitude is not simply a polite thank you to life. It is a deep, unwavering recognition that divine supply is constant, unchanging, and abundant. When you go to bed with a heart full of gratitude, you are in harmony with the law of increase, for whatever you praise and give thanks for expands. The act of expressing gratitude before sleep is like opening the windows of your soul to let in the morning sun. It clears away the fog of worry and prepares your mind to receive more of the good you have acknowledged. Many people wait until their circumstances improve before they feel grateful, but this is reversing the divine order. In truth, gratitude is the magnet that draws in more of the very things you desire. If you wait for riches to appear before giving thanks, you are standing at the locked door of supply with the key in your pocket, refusing to use it. Gratitude is that key. The moment you say, with sincerity, "Thank you, Father, for the abundance that is mine now," you signal to the subconscious mind and to the universe that you are ready to receive. You acknowledge the good as already accomplished in the unseen, and by the law of manifestation, it must appear in the seen. When you close your eyes at night, your mind is still digesting the events of the day. If you fill those moments with complaints, regrets, or thoughts of lack, you are instructing your subconscious to perpetuate those same experiences. But when you deliberately shift your focus to gratitude, you are planting seeds of increase and expansion. You are telling your inner world, "This is what I want more of." The subconscious mind, being obedient and without judgment, will then go to work during your sleep to find and attract situations, people, and opportunities that match that vibration. Gratitude before sleep is also a cleansing act. It removes the sting from disappointments and dissolves the residue of negative emotions. Even if your day was full of challenges, there is always something for which you can give thanks. The breath in your lungs, the shelter over your head, the food you ate, the lessons learned. Florence Scovel Shinn often said that what you praise, you raise, and what you condemn, you bring down. By praising the good, no matter how small, you are raising it up and inviting it to grow. In that state of thankfulness, the heart relaxes, the mind quiets, and the body slips more easily into peaceful rest. Scientific research supports what spiritual teachers have always known: the emotional state you carry into sleep can influence not only the quality of your rest, but also your physical health and mental clarity. Gratitude produces feelings of safety, joy, and contentment, all of which calm the nervous system and allow the body to repair and rejuvenate more effectively. In this way, giving thanks at night not only enriches your spiritual life, but also strengthens your physical well-being. It is as if you are aligning your entire being with the truth that all is well and more good is on its way. It is important to understand that gratitude is not passive. It is not simply a warm feeling, it is an active force that shapes reality. Florence Scovel Shinn described it as sending out a signal to the divine mind that you have recognized its gifts. When that signal is sent, more gifts are dispatched. For the universe is generous to those who acknowledge its generosity. This is why people who live in a state of continual gratitude seem to attract blessings effortlessly. They are constantly affirming, "I see the good, I appreciate it, and I expect more of it." To practice gratitude effectively before bed, it is not enough to recite a list of things you are thankful for without feeling. The key is to let that gratitude sink into your heart until it becomes a living emotion. Feel the joy of already having the blessings you desire. If you are seeking financial abundance, thank God for the provision as though it has already been delivered. If you are longing for health, give thanks for the restoration as though it is already complete. This mirrors the biblical teaching that you must believe you have received, and then you will receive. Gratitude is the bridge between faith and manifestation, because it affirms that the thing is already yours. When you end your day with gratitude, you are turning your attention away from what is missing and toward what is present. This shift in focus changes the energy you carry into the night and, in turn, changes what you draw into your life. It is impossible to be truly grateful and at the same time be fearful, resentful, or doubtful. Gratitude dissolves those lower vibrations, replacing them with trust and expectancy. It is the declaration, "I trust the source of my supply. I know I am provided for. I rejoice in the good that is mine now." In this way, going to sleep in a state of thankfulness is not merely a nice habit. It is a deliberate spiritual practice that aligns you with the very forces that create abundance. The subconscious mind, nourished by the feeling of gratitude, will work in harmony with divine law to multiply that good in your experience. It will draw to you more reasons to give thanks, for it always seeks to reproduce the patterns you impress upon it. By making gratitude your final act of the day, you are telling life exactly what kind of harvest you wish to reap. Faith spoken at night is faith multiplied by morning, because the words you speak before sleep are not just sounds. They are seeds cast into the fertile soil of the subconscious mind. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that spoken words have a vibratory power, and when they are charged with faith, they carry the creative force of the Spirit itself. To speak words of faith before bed is to write tomorrow's script with the ink of divine assurance. The moment before sleep is sacred because the conscious mind, with its doubts and reasoning, begins to quiet, leaving the subconscious wide open to receive impressions. At that moment, every statement you make in faith bypasses resistance and is taken as absolute truth, to be acted upon without hesitation. When you affirm something with conviction, you are aligning yourself with the spiritual law that, according to your faith, be it unto you. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is the confident expectation that what you speak is already accomplished in the unseen. Speaking faith-filled words at night allows that truth to sink deeply into the subconscious during the hours of rest, where it continues to work, undistracted and uninterrupted, until the morning light. The subconscious, once impressed, begins to arrange conditions, summon opportunities, and inspire ideas that harmonize with your declaration. Imagine a captain of a ship giving his crew instructions before retiring for the night. The crew works through the darkness, navigating the waters exactly as directed, so that by sunrise the vessel has arrived at the intended destination. Your subconscious mind is that crew, and your words of faith are the orders it follows. If you speak doubt or fear before bed, the subconscious will just as faithfully steer you toward the harbor of those conditions. But when you speak words of power and confidence, you set your inner ship on a course toward abundance, health, guidance, and success. Florence Scovel Shinn often reminded her students that faith is not just thinking something might happen. It is knowing it has already happened in the spiritual realm and will inevitably appear in the physical. The spoken word seals that knowing. This is why affirmations voiced aloud, especially in the quiet moments before sleep, are so potent. They are not merely recited, they are declarations of spiritual law. When you say, "Divine supply flows to me freely and abundantly," with genuine faith, you are not hoping for it, you are commanding the invisible forces of life to align with that truth. Science supports this spiritual principle in an unexpected way. Psychologists and neuroscientists have found that verbalizing your intentions has a stronger impact on your subconscious than merely thinking them. The act of speaking engages more of the brain, sends stronger sensory signals, and reinforces the belief more firmly. Combine this with the heightened receptivity of the subconscious before sleep, and you have a powerful formula for change. The words you speak in faith during this time are amplified, like a seed planted in rich, well-watered soil. Faith spoken at night also has the power to dissolve the mental clutter gathered during the day. In the course of living, we encounter many situations that may leave traces of doubt, frustration, or worry in our minds. By intentionally speaking words of faith before sleep, you are sweeping away those mental cobwebs and replacing them with truths that uplift and strengthen. It is a spiritual cleansing, a way to close the door on the day's limitations and open the door to the limitless possibilities of God's supply. This practice also works because of the law of assumption, which Florence Scovel Shinn often echoed in her teachings. When you speak something with faith, you are assuming it is already yours, and what you assume in the inner world must be expressed in the outer world. Words are creative commands, and the subconscious treats them as orders to fulfill. If you end your day saying, "I am guided perfectly in all that I do," your subconscious will, while you sleep, seek out ideas, insights, and even circumstances that make this statement true. You will find yourself waking with clarity, making decisions with ease, and encountering the right people at the right time. Speaking faith at night is not dependent on your emotions in the moment. You may feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain, but the power of the spoken word is not diminished by temporary feelings. In fact, speaking faith in the face of fear is one of the most potent acts you can perform. It is an act of spiritual authority, a declaration that you choose to stand on the truth rather than the appearance of things. Florence Scovel Shinn often said that your word is your wand, and the final words of the day cast the spell that shapes the day to come. The multiplication of faith by morning happens because the subconscious magnifies what it is given. It does not simply hold your words, it nurtures them, develops them, and sends them forth as patterns into the creative substance of life. Your statement of faith becomes a vibration that draws to itself people, opportunities, and conditions that resonate with it. Just as a small spark can ignite a great fire, a single faith-filled word spoken at night can set in motion a chain of events far greater than you could plan by human effort alone. Faith is multiplied by morning because the night is not idle time. It is a season of invisible growth, just as seeds sprout beneath the soil where no eye can see. The words you plant in faith before sleep take root in the unseen realm. They are nourished by the stillness, strengthened by the absence of resistance, and brought forth into the light of day in their appointed time. This is why a simple statement, sincerely spoken before you close your eyes, can return to you in the morning with a force and clarity that seems far beyond what you put into it. Releasing all fear and resentment before sleep is an act of spiritual housekeeping, clearing away the mental and emotional debris that would otherwise cloud the subconscious and obstruct the flow of good. Florence Scovel Shinn often emphasized that fear and resentment are among the greatest enemies of progress because they keep the mind in bondage to the very conditions one wishes to escape. The subconscious mind, like a garden, will produce whatever seeds are planted within it. If fear and resentment are allowed to linger, they become weeds that choke out the growth of faith, peace, and abundance. Going to bed without releasing them is like leaving poison in the soil overnight, allowing it to seep deeper. Fear is a state of imagining the future without God in it, picturing harm, loss, or lack as if the divine law of protection and provision has been suspended. Resentment is the mental replaying of past wrongs, holding on to injury or injustice with the belief that it continues to have power over you. Both keep the soul tied to false pictures. Fear binds you to an undesirable tomorrow, while resentment binds you to a painful yesterday. If either is carried into the night, it instructs the subconscious to perpetuate those same experiences. Before sleep, the mind enters a receptive, unguarded state. Whatever dominates your consciousness at that time will be impressed deeply and worked upon through the hours of rest. If fear is your last thought, the subconscious will work to confirm it. If resentment is your final feeling, it will find ways to replay that same discord in your relationships and circumstances. Florence Scovel Shinn likened this to giving the subconscious a negative order, which it will faithfully execute. The law works impartially. It will manifest what is impressed upon it, whether for good or ill. Releasing fear before bed requires a conscious shift in perspective. It is to say, I refuse to carry this picture into my rest. I choose to trust that God's law of harmony and protection governs my life. This is not pretending that danger does not exist, but affirming that the divine presence is greater than any perceived threat. Fear loses its grip when you replace it with the truth of divine order. By making this exchange before sleep, you are instructing the subconscious to hold to that truth through the night, allowing it to filter into every level of your being. Resentment is equally important to release because it ties your energy to the past. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Spiritually, resentment is a form of belief in separation from the divine good, from peace, from wholeness. When you lie in bed replaying wrongs, you keep yourself spiritually tethered to them. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that forgiveness is not condoning an offense, but freeing yourself from its hold. Forgiveness is cutting the cord that binds you to discord. To forgive before sleep is to ensure that the night is spent building a life free from that discord. There is a spiritual law that whatever you release returns to you in a higher form. Letting go of fear makes space for faith to enter. Letting go of resentment makes room for love and harmony to flourish. The act of releasing is not passive, it is an assertion of your authority over your own inner state. It is a choice to hand over the burden to the divine mind, trusting that it will be resolved in ways beyond your own effort. Doing this before sleep ensures that your subconscious will work toward harmony rather than toward repeating the old injury. A practical way to release these emotions before bed is through spoken word. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that words are the most direct way to impress the subconscious. A simple statement such as, I cast out all fear. God is my instant and eternal supply and protection. Or, I fully and freely forgive everyone, and I am forgiven, can shift the emotional tone instantly. Speaking these words with sincerity transforms them from mere sentences into spiritual commands. The subconscious, hearing them at this highly receptive time, takes them as law and begins working to bring your inner state into alignment with them. It is also powerful to visualize the act of releasing. You might imagine placing all fears into a bright, golden light, watching them dissolve completely, or see every person you have held resentment toward bathed in that same light, free from blame, and yourself free from bitterness. The subconscious responds strongly to images, and these mental pictures can reinforce the spoken word. This combined approach, speaking the release and visualizing it, ensures that fear and resentment have no place to take root while you rest. When fear and resentment are cleared away, the heart becomes light, and the mind becomes still. This state allows for deeper, more restorative sleep, because the body is not holding on to tension or stress. It also creates a clean mental and spiritual slate for the subconscious to work upon. In this quiet, open space, divine ideas can take root, unhindered by the weeds of negative emotion. Florence Scovel Shinn often said that nothing of the higher order can grow in a soil filled with bitterness and fear. The nightly practice of release is therefore a preparation of the soil, ensuring that only the seeds of truth, harmony, and abundance are nourished in the dark hours of the night. Affirming God's abundance as already yours before sleep is one of the most powerful spiritual practices for attracting prosperity in every area of life. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that supply is not something you must chase or plead for, it is a divine inheritance, already established in the invisible, awaiting your recognition. The challenge for most people is that they approach abundance as something distant, uncertain, or dependent on circumstances. This mindset creates a sense of separation between themselves and the good they desire. By affirming that God's abundance is already yours, you bridge that separation in consciousness, claiming your good as a present reality rather than a future hope. The subconscious mind responds most strongly to feelings and beliefs held with certainty. When you go to bed affirming, God's wealth flows to me freely, endlessly, and effortlessly now, you are not making a wish. You are making a declaration of spiritual law. This declaration, when charged with faith, sinks into the fertile soil of your subconscious, where it begins to work without opposition during the hours of sleep. In this way, your mind is programmed to recognize, attract, and act upon opportunities for increase when you awaken. Abundance, in spiritual terms, is not limited to money. It includes health, love, ideas, and peace, every form of good that makes life rich and full. When you affirm abundance as yours now, you are aligning your consciousness with the truth that God is the limitless source, and that source is never depleted. Florence Scovel Shinn often reminded her students that the supply for every demand is already prepared. The affirmation simply opens the mental and spiritual channels through which that supply can flow into form. The timing of this practice is significant. Just before sleep, the conscious mind is less active, and the subconscious is more receptive to suggestion. Any affirmation made at this time bypasses much of the mental resistance that might block it during the day. If, for example, you affirm abundance in the morning, but then spend the day worrying about bills, your conscious doubts dilute the impression. But when you affirm abundance right before drifting off, those doubts are less likely to interfere. Your words, images, and feelings are delivered directly to the subconscious, which takes them as literal truth and begins working to make them visible. It is important that the affirmation be spoken in the present tense and with genuine feeling. Saying, "I will be abundant," places abundance in the future, where it remains out of reach. Saying, "I am abundant now," places it in the present, where the subconscious accepts it as already true. The feeling accompanying the affirmation is equally important. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that words without feeling are like seeds without water. They cannot grow. As you affirm, you must feel the joy, relief, and gratitude as if the abundance has already manifested. This emotional state imprints the idea more deeply into the subconscious and sets the law of attraction into motion. Affirming abundance before sleep also serves as a way of replacing thoughts of lack or limitation that may have accumulated throughout the day. It is common for people to review their problems at night, unconsciously reinforcing the very conditions they want to change. By choosing instead to affirm the presence of abundance, you are redirecting your mental focus toward the solution rather than the problem. You are telling the subconscious, "This is the reality I choose to experience." Over time, the mind begins to reject thoughts of lack as foreign and accepts thoughts of abundance as natural. Visualization can enhance this process. Along with speaking the affirmation, you might imagine scenes that represent abundance to you: receiving a check, enjoying a thriving business, living in a beautiful home, or simply feeling secure and free from financial worry. The subconscious mind responds vividly to mental pictures, and when combined with the spoken word, these images create a powerful impression. The more real and detailed the picture feels, the faster it is accepted as truth. This practice is not about forcing results through human effort, but about aligning with a spiritual law that is already operating. Just as you would not beg the sun to rise, you do not need to beg for abundance. It is the natural expression of divine order. The purpose of the nightly affirmation is to clear away the clouds of doubt and fear that block the light of supply from reaching you. By ending the day with the conviction that God's abundance is already yours, you go to sleep in harmony with that law, and the night becomes a time of preparation for the visible manifestation of your good. Florence Scovel Shinn often compared the subconscious to a faithful servant who works tirelessly to carry out your instructions. If you tell it repeatedly that abundance is yours now, it will find ways to make that statement a reality. It may guide you to new ideas, bring unexpected opportunities, or inspire you to take actions you would not have considered otherwise. The key is to give it clear, consistent instructions, free from contradiction. This is why the moment before sleep is so valuable. It is an uninterrupted channel through which you can send those instructions with maximum impact. By affirming God's abundance as already yours, you are not trying to create something from nothing. You are claiming what has always been spiritually yours. The act of affirmation shifts your identity from someone seeking supply to someone who already possesses it. This change in self-perception is what transforms outer conditions, for life always reflects the image you hold of yourself. As you consistently affirm this truth before sleep, the subconscious reshapes your inner world to match it, and the outer world follows in perfect order. Visualizing answered prayer as a present reality before sleep is a direct way to bring the unseen into the scene, for the subconscious mind works in images more powerfully than in words alone. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the game of life is played in the imagination first, and that whatever is clearly pictured with faith will sooner or later appear in form. When you visualize answered prayer, you are not imagining a distant possibility. You are stepping into the reality that it is already done in the spiritual realm. This is in harmony with the biblical instruction to believe you have received, and it shall be yours. The act of visualizing before sleep gives the subconscious a complete, detailed blueprint of the desired outcome, which it then works to reproduce without distraction during the hours of rest. The mind before sleep is in a receptive state, like fertile soil awaiting the seed. Whatever image is planted in those moments will sink deep into the subconscious, bypassing much of the conscious mind's doubt and resistance. If you visualize yourself already living in the answered prayer, feeling the emotions of joy, gratitude, and relief, your subconscious accepts it as present fact. The subconscious does not distinguish between actual experience and vividly imagined experience. It treats both as real. This is why athletes, performers, and creators often use visualization to improve results. They are rehearsing success in the mind, so that the body and circumstances naturally follow. When visualizing, it is important to include sensory details. If your prayer is for financial abundance, do not merely see a vague image of money. Imagine holding it, feeling its texture, noticing the colors, and hearing the sounds associated with it, perhaps the rustle of bills or the soft click of a pen signing a check. If your prayer is for health, imagine yourself moving freely, feeling strong and energized, perhaps hearing the laughter of loved ones as you join them without restriction. These sensory elements deepen the impression, making it more vivid and convincing to the subconscious. Emotions are equally vital in visualization. Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized that feeling is the key to manifestation. A lifeless mental picture will not take root. It must be charged with the emotion you would naturally feel if the prayer were already answered. If you are praying for a new home, feel the joy of walking through its doors, the safety of resting within its walls, and the contentment of knowing it is yours. Let that emotional state fill you completely, as if you were already living in it. This feeling is what tells the subconscious, this is real now. Visualizing answered prayer before sleep also counteracts the tendency of the mind to dwell on worry or lack. Many people end their day rehearsing fears or replaying disappointments, which only imprints more of the same into the subconscious. By deliberately choosing to see and feel the desired outcome instead, you are replacing those destructive impressions with constructive ones. Over time, the subconscious comes to expect the good you have been picturing, and expectation itself is a magnet for manifestation. This practice also works in harmony with the law of attraction and the law of assumption, on which Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings often echoed. The law of attraction states that like attracts like, holding the image of answered prayer attracts conditions that match it. The law of assumption states that assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled causes that wish to be realized. Visualization before sleep combines both laws, for you are attracting what you focus on while assuming it is already yours. The night hours then become a workshop for the subconscious to organize and align circumstances with that assumption. It is helpful to make the scene short and simple rather than long and complicated. Choose a single image that represents the prayer answered and return to it each night. If your prayer is for career success, perhaps visualize shaking hands with someone congratulating you. or receiving a message of good news. The subconscious thrives on repetition and clarity. Replaying the same image night after night imprints it more deeply and signals its importance to the mind, which then directs energy toward making it real. Another way to enhance this practice is to pair visualization with spoken affirmations. After creating the mental picture, speak a short phrase that affirms it is done, such as, "Thank you, Father," "that it is accomplished," or "This is my reality now." The spoken word anchors the image in the mind and reinforces it as truth. The subconscious receives both the picture and the verbal declaration as instructions to fulfill. The quiet hours of sleep allow the subconscious to work on your visualization without interference. It can access resources, ideas, and inspiration that you may not consciously perceive. Upon waking, you may find yourself drawn to take certain actions, meet certain people, or notice opportunities you would have overlooked before. These are the outer signs that your inner image is beginning to take form. Florence Scovel Shinn often described this as the bridge of incidents, a series of events that lead naturally from your current situation to the fulfillment of your prayer. By ending your day with the image of answered prayer, you are giving your subconscious a single, clear instruction to follow through the night. You are telling it not to dwell on the absence of your desire, but to live in the presence of it. Over time, this mental and emotional conditioning shifts your dominant state from hoping and waiting to knowing and receiving. The outer world, in turn, reflects this inner shift, arranging itself to match the reality you have been carrying within.